Hey y'all, welcome to another edition of Tuesday Talk. Alright, let's get started. Okay, my first question that somebody asked me was, has anybody ever broken up with me? Of course. Do I remember what happened? Not really. And it usually was like something like, well, they just stopped calling me, they didn't talk to me anymore. And that's probably why I don't remember, because it wasn't dramatic at all. It was just, I guess they lost interest or they found somebody new and they just stopped talking to me. Whenever I broke up with somebody, I remember, I never forget it. It depends on the person, because certain people that I've dated stand out in my life more than others. There are certain people that I broke up with them, but I have no clue what their first and last name is. I don't really remember them, and I don't know, I just blocked out of my brain, but a couple of people that I had spent years with, I do definitely remember why we broke up, and it was very dramatic. Alright, next question. Would I be supportive of validating? Well, I would at a certain age. My mother didn't allow me to date seriously until I was 16. Like, not date seriously, but I couldn't go nowhere with no boy until I was 16, let's just say that. And so that's the same rule that I'm gonna keep in place for Violet as well, and it also depends on her maturity level too, because if I see that she's extremely naive, she ain't going nowhere with you, talking about the boy, because I want her focus to be on her education. My responsibility is to get her through primary school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. When you turn 18 and you have your own lease to your own place, you can pretty much live your life and do whatever you want. But if you're under my roof, you either have to go to college, get a job, or get a trade. You have to be doing something. We are not independently wealthy, and I ain't having no freeloaders up in my house. And so I don't want, nowadays it's like teenagers are just so in a hurry to date. It's ridiculous. You got middle schoolers who's talking about 12 and 13-year-olds who have boyfriends. And I'm like, first of all, you have a boyfriend. Where is your mama? Why is she letting you have a boyfriend and you don't even have on a train? You can't even fit in a training bra. No, ma'am. You are still a little girl. Go get you a book and let that be your boyfriend. And so, I'm not having that. I want their focus to be on school. Boys and dating and all of that is secondary. I don't really care too much about that. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't want her to be obsessed with it. And plus, I want to save her from a lot of unnecessary hurt and pain, because when you start serious relationships so young, you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand what you're doing. You have no clue what you're getting yourself into at that age. And you just need to focus on being a kid. Being a kid, you are a kid for kids are kids just for a short period of time, and you're an adult forever. You're not a kid forever. I know some people want to be kids forever, but no. I want them to enjoy their childhood and enjoy being a kid. And then when you become an adult, you have no choice but to be one. So yeah. So I'll support them dating. They can talk to boys on the phone. I'm not archaic, and I'm not one of those parents that are going to be like, I forbid you to talk to boys on the phone. You can talk to them on the phone, because everybody has to have friends. I'm not going to limit your friends to just girls. It's okay for you to have a friend boy, but you can't have a boy friend. He can call you, between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. After that, he need to go find something to do, because you can't be on the phone late at night, because you have to get ready for your studies for the next day. But I don't want my kids to ever have to sneak behind my back. I want to be an open parent. If you like a boy, if you're having feelings and this and that, I want Violet to be comfortable enough to come to me and express those feelings, and then I'll give her advice biblically, and I'll give her advice, real world advice on how to go about handling that situation, and just hope that with my training, my rearing of her, that she will make the correct decision. And if she does not, mom knows best, and I am more than capable of reeling her in. But I'm not going to be like overly strict about, oh, you could only, I'm not going to be strict like that. Did I take my husband's last name or hyphen it? I did take my husband's last name. His last name is Roper, as you guys can see, because my channel is named Roper. And so, yes, I did not hyphen it because I have a very, very, very long name. I have a long first name and I have a long middle name. And so, child, please, you don't need all the names. And so, and I thought it was respectful, Let me tell you, my dad was not happy at all when I changed my last name. And it's so weird that he would be pissed off. He was really upset, like hurt that I changed my last name legally. He's like, why couldn't you just hyphen it? Like, I guess he felt a certain type of way. And it took him a while to get used to the fact that I'm married, because I'm the youngest, and so it took him a while to get used to it. But he was upset at first. But I did change my last name legally. How did my parents feel about us living together before marriage? I don't know how my mom felt. I'm pretty sure I could kind of, I can just imagine how she felt. We're very, very religious, and the whole shacking business and all that jazz. But we didn't do it, just to be fast or anything like that. His lease was up on his place, and we were getting married literally like in 5 months. So it was like, what is the point of him signing another lease of a place that cost twice the amount of money as the place that I was living in? And it was like, where I lived was considerably cheaper than where he was living, and it was also bigger. And so I felt, that it would be easier for us to just move in together. And it wasn't like we were just living together, we were living together, engaged to be married in the recent future. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So we weren't just living together forever and ever. We moved in with each other, and we got married in 5 months. So my dad, he didn't care. He did care because he's religious too, but he didn't make a big deal out of it. His thing was just like, well, it's nobody's business that you're living together, number one. If you're worried about, what people think about it, it's nobody's business. Keep it to yourself. But y'all need to be on y'all way to the altar, because you ain't gonna be living with this man for years and not getting married. So he was, but we ended up getting engaged and getting married, so it was cool. But my mother, hell nah, sinner. But she didn't say anything to me. I'm sure she knew, but she knew we were getting married, so she didn't voice anything to my face. But my dad did tell me, listen, y'all better be getting married. Like, it ain't, I ain't tripping off of it, but y'all better be getting married. How old was I when I moved out of my parents' house? I was 23 years young when I moved out of my parents' house. I grew up very, 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 very sheltered. I grew up in a bubble, and my mother and I, we did not get along at all, because my mother is very, very controlling, and she's in control of every aspect of our lives. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Okay, sorry. Very, very controlling over how we lived our life and everything, and that's where we clashed, because I am a naturally very, very independent person. I'm a self-starter, and I can't handle a person telling me, what job to take, how many hours to work. Like, it's just too much, like that micromanager life type thing. And if I didn't follow any of her rules, she would throw me out of the house. And I'm talking about, this was happening from I was like 15. I was getting kicked out of my house for like one random dumb crap after the other. And so it was like I was constantly walking on eggshells, walking on eggshells, walking on eggshells. And I just got to the point where I was just like, you need to get your own place. You know, because you can't keep sleeping on people's couch. Like, people are very, very generous, like, the first couple of times, but after a while, they're gonna get tired. You know, that's just my mind. I don't know if anybody felt that way. You know, they kind of felt sorry for me because I was homeless, you know? But I got to the point where I needed to make a decision. I needed to get my own spot. So what I did was that during income tax time, I took my tax refund and, well, I'll go back. My mother and I got into a huge argument. And at that time, I didn't have a car. So what I did, I was so angry. I left the house. I got on the bus, and I just was riding on the bus. I didn't know where I was going. I was just going somewhere. I just wanted to get away, go away, you know, just wanted to be away from everything. So I just got on the bus and I started riding, and I ended up in the next county. And I got off the bus and I just started walking, just aimlessly walking. Didn't know where the hell I was going. And I found this. I stumbled across this apartment complex, and this was when I was 19. And I went into the apartment complex and I asked for an application. And the landlord, he was just like, how old are you? Because, you know, I'm short and I was really tiny. He's like, how old are you, young lady? And I was like, I'm 19. He was like, oh no, absolutely not. I don't rent to kids because all you guys do is party and you're irresponsible. You don't pay your rent. And I was like, no, sir, no, I'm not like that. I'm really a good girl. I have a job. I go to church. He was like, yeah, right. Sure, you go to church. And I was like, no, I always pay my rent. And he was just like, no, honey, I'm not gonna rent to you. I didn't even know that was against the law to deny somebody. But anyway, so I was like, he was like, well, come back to me in a few years and I'll rent to you when you get a little older, but go back home and try to work it out. You know, I told him the situation. He said, try to work it out with your mom or whatever. So I went back home, and then I got this really, really great job with good benefits, a decent salary, stable salary. I had 40 hours a week. That's huge when you're like young, because when you're young, you don't get 40 hours a week, honey. But it was like my first grown-up job where I got 40 hours a week, and I had health insurance, and so I just felt like I could do it. And I had a little car too, honey. I had a Chevy Celebrity. My dad paid $300 for that car. Anyway, so I waited until I got my tax refund. I swear it was like $600 at the time. And I went back to the place, and the guy remembered me. He was like, oh, you still look kind of young, but you can go on ahead and fill out the application. I fill out the application, and they checked me out, and I got approved in like 3 days. I was so excited. And I am, naturally very, very talkative, but this I kept like top secret. Like, this was like, Homeland Security secret, honey, because, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get kicked out prematurely before my apartment was ready, and I didn't want to fight with anybody, because it would have been a big fight. And so I was like completely terrified. So what I did, when they called me and approved me, I had to go and I had to pay I think it was the first month's rent, and yeah, just the first month's rent. And they gave me, as soon as I paid that, they gave me my keys, and I had my own place. It was like bare walls. This is where I live now. So I've been living in this apartment for 10 years. And I had a 2-bedroom apartment because they didn't have any more 1-bedrooms, and it was like a $2 difference, literally a $2 difference between a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. So I just took 2, and plus I was like, closet space, because I'm a girl and I have a whole lot of crap. So I was working at my job, and what I started doing is I worked at a large retailer. I'm not going to talk about who I worked for, but anyway, I started putting stuff on layaway, like mad hoard and stuff. So every time I would get paid, I would put a bunch of like dishes and towels and stuff like that on layaway. And it was so funny. I was just like, I gotta tell my parents that I have an apartment. Like, I just cannot keep this a secret, because my first, I was coming up on, my first week rent, because it was like they rent on a weekly basis. You pay your rent on a weekly basis, and I was like, I'm not gonna be paying rent, and I'm scared to tell my own people that I'm moving, that I have a place. So what I did one day is I told my parents, I said, I like to take y'all somewhere if you're not busy. And so we all piled in the car, just me and my parents, and we drove to my apartment. They didn't know where we was going. I think they thought we was going out to dinner. And so they drove in the neighborhood, and I got out the car, and I walked into the apartment, and I took my key and opened the door, and my mom looked at my dad like, this girl done got her a place. And they walked in, so my mother was like, oh, so this is your apartment? And I was like, yeah. And so she was really happy for me. They were really happy for me that I went and I did it on my own, because like I said, I grew up really sheltered, and so I had to learn about life on my own because, my parents just wouldn't let me do jack. So, make any major decisions on my own. It was just constantly in my business. So I had to pretty much try to grow up in secret, So anyway, so my mom helped me paint the place, and she helped me set up and everything. And so, but she never gave any indication of when I could actually move in. And even though it was my place, it was like I was still waiting on permission to move. It's just weird. And so it just felt like moving was going to be this big drama fest. So what I did is I talked to my dad, who's always on my side, of course, and he was just like, I was like, I want to move, but I'm scared she's going to freak out on me or whatever. And so he was like, you grown, you got your own place, go on ahead and go. And so while my mother went to work, he helped me move all of my stuff, everything completely out, and he helped me move into my apartment. When my mom got home that night, my dad told me she went into my, he didn't even tell her nothing, like he tried to soften the blow a little bit. Help a sister out. He just let her come into my room, and all she saw was 4 walls, and it was like it was very traumatic, and she was angry, and she was pissed off, and she called me, and she told me, don't ever come back, and that she hope I have to beg to come back, that I can't pay my rent and I have to come back, and then she started accusing me of taking stuff. Like, I was just like, oh my God, it was so dramatic. Giving her house keys, she was so extra. And so I was like, oh well. But I was so horrified and terrified being by myself. I was in this apartment. I didn't have any furniture. The only thing I had was my bed and my dressers and stuff with what I came with. That's all I had. I didn't have anything else. Just the stuff that was in my bedroom. I was, but I had dishes, I had utensils, I had towels, and I had a refrigerator that I got from Brands Mart for $223. I still have the refrigerator today. It still works fine. Like, that's all I had. Microwave. I had everything that I put on layaway, But yeah, I know that was a long story, but yeah, that's how I moved out. How old was I when I already said that. How do I think about people who post inappropriate photos of themselves? I don't care. I mean, I am a little judgmental when it comes to stuff like that, because it's like, we live in the 21st century. Don't we know that the internet is not, like, it doesn't go away? Are we still doing stuff like this? Like, come on. Like, you see grown people just posting butt crack pictures, nasty pictures of themselves. Why are people still posting their private parts and sending them to folks? And, and then when you break up with the person, what do? They put you on World Star Hip Hop. Like, what? Stop doing it. And it's like, now, like, the kids that are coming up now, they have no sense of discretion. They don't even care that employers Google. Like, they will Google your name, and all your behind will be out, on somebody's Google search, and you won't get a job. Like, stop doing it. I just think it's dumb. Like, it's really, really dumb. I try to be very, very careful what I post, you know, and I just try to be careful what I post. I don't post, you know, pictures like that. Even after I lose all my weight and get fine and sexy, I'm not posting no pictures, you know, and no bikini to show you how much weight I lost. You can damn see. You will see it. You don't need to be naked to see it. But I mean, it's just the world that we live in, and you know, I'm gonna be on top of my kids, honey. Because if I see any of my kids' behinds on a picture, okay. But yeah, you know, people just do what they do, and it's gonna catch up to you. Simple as that. It's just dumb. Don't do it. Last question. When did my husband and I know that we wanted to be with each other? Pretty much the first date. I mean, the first date, I don't know, we were so comfortable with each other. We were like really, like, we knew what we wanted. Like, I was 29. I was not into casual dating at all. I was over it. I wanted to be married. He was 36 and ready to be married and have children, and he let that be known. That was the first thing that he made clear, like, this, you know, I'm looking for a wife. If that's not what you want, then this will be our first and last date. And I was like, damn, okay. And we just clicked, you know, we clicked really, really well. And we've been together 3 years. And we've been married 2.5. So, yeah, we just knew. And you just know. You don't have to do anything special to know. You know when you meet that person. Okay, I've said all I can say. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you'll leave them down below, and I will talk to you guys next week for Tuesday Talk. Bye.